What would you describe the grind as?
I mean, the grind, it's almost what feels like an unattainable goal, right? Or like, like what's like a far out like goal that you kind of have to make yourself believe that is attainable within your reach. And you have to really make yourself believe. And it's difficult. The grind, it has the name The Grind because it's not a walk in the park.
No, or else it would be called a walk in the park. Yeah, I think it's also like, I also kind of call it the loop, which is, or the cycle, which is like your quintessential wake up, go to work, go home, sleep, repeat.
But see, do you think that going to work is part of the grind? Because I think going to work is status quo. I think the grind is like you're shooting for something more than what you have right now.
Yeah, I guess that is the sort of different interpretation of the grind, of like more sort of modern, like, yeah, like let's get this bread and let's, work on all these things. And like, I don't know, people boast about only getting like 5 hours of sleep or something because like, yeah, just grinding away at it. And I don't know if it's healthy. And I think that's the main reason for bringing this up, especially like you and I, in that we have sort of goals outside of what our like main money making schemes are. And we have to grind and put in time outside of our normal work time to make this thing happen, on top of just like the rest of survival, which is at the very least eating, and then hopefully some sort of social interaction at all.
Yeah, there's also like there's all kinds of things that are almost considered necessary, right? That
drinking your own urine.
Necessary. That sometimes the grind makes it so you don't drink all of your daily urine.
Yeah, and so like, I don't know, you've seen the model or the metaphor of like depression, of like you only get so many, what is like spoons or whatever, spoon theory. You only get so many to like give out to, yeah, I don't know, whatever other like things people use to measure this depression theory, but it's like you only have so much energy in the day. And like when you're depressed, like getting up takes up energy, and like making yourself breakfast takes up energy. And so like you only have so many spaces or like actions that you can use throughout the day. But like, even if you're not necessarily depressed, it's still, there are things that we have to do every day to like ensure our survival. And the grind is sort of like the thing outside of the status quo to make sure that we can achieve some sort of goal. But then what? Like, so I guess not then what, but like, it's sort of, how is it feasible today? Is it even feasible today, especially given like in this economy? Yeah.
Yes, because people do it, right? One of the ways that I wanted to do this through is like through the lens of like Kanye West's like first album, which was very like the way that he was thinking about it was very prophetic. Like the way that he did that album, like saying that like in that first album saying like I will get a Grammy, like, and stuff that like he didn't know for sure that he was going to do it. And like, but like, yeah, that kind of level of believing in yourself that like, certain people do achieve, right? Like, because it's not like again, like getting too much into it. It seems like I'm bringing Kanye West like up out of nowhere. But it's almost like he always wanted to be an artist, and he went to college like to be an artist, and like both his parents were like college educated, so it seemed like the path that he was going toward was like graduate from college and like go through the paved road of like college educated artist, I guess. But then like he dropped out of school to do what he believed would work. And I think sometimes, like, I mean, yeah, I think society has like these well worn paths that are supposed to lead towards success. And yeah, I mean, I think that there's certain things that certain communities like advantages that certain communities have that others don't, like, you know, like just connections and stuff like that, or like applying to colleges is not the only thing you have to do. Like you have to also
write a bunch of essays, for example, or if you can't afford it, you are writing a bunch of essays for scholarships, or trying to maintain all of the extracurricular things that look good so that you can be accepted to a nice college or whatever.
If you know an alumnus, like an alumni from that college, that like that helps. That so it's all these like weird things that beside that sometimes I think that the lower and again, not that like the lower people on the social economical like ladder like have to grind harder than like the Steve Jobs and like the Donald Trump can get like a small loan of like $1 million.
And so, I mean, I guess in a way, I'm sort of here to like attempt to poke holes in the like, I don't know, Kanye theory of grind, which is like, which, yes, we talked about it earlier today, but like I guess, yeah, the first thing is that Kanye's ego is astronomical. And so that's already something that like to have that level of grind or grit requires an ego that is unhealthy.
His mom also gave him unconditional love that like fueled his like belief in himself. But again, like it's also like he's also been this way for a long time, and I think his mom kind of grounded him a lot, and like there were people in his life that grounded him a lot. And he also, it's not just the ego, but it's bipolar. Like it's because there's the other side, and he talks about like insecure in his first album. Also, he talked about his insecurity, like All Falls Down, like is a song about like how insecure he is and how he spends money on clothes and stuff to make him feel better. So like he's putting like the full spectrum of what he is like from the very beginning, which is like the unapologetic belief in himself and the like, you know, insecurity.
Yeah. And I will also put out this disclaimer is that like, I don't know Kanye's body of work very well. And I very much do not separate art from the artist. If it's one thing whenever artists are like, you know, horrendous human beings. Just today, I found that R. Kelly was being charged for the things that he did with many minors. And so it's like, yeah, no one has to be R. Kelly levels or like Harvey Weinstein levels of horrendous. And this is one of the reasons why I asked the question, do you separate art from the artist on this podcast? And it kind of always kind of comes down to Kanye himself, which is like the barrier is Kanye, because it's like he's not doing crimes. He's not, abusing underage women or something. He's just an asshole sometimes. Not even all the time. I'm sure he's like a pretty great person a lot of the time.
What's also interesting, again, like just because I think that when we talk about the grind, like I kind of wanted to look at his first album because it was the most like grind time that he had in his career. And like, I was almost looking at like his first album, The College Dropout, as a retrospective, like with like in 2021, like looking at it, that like even in like Jesus Walks, which was like one of the singles from that album, in the music video, there's video of him like explaining this, that like he had a white supremacist, like a Ku Klux Klan like person in there, and like and the person was like working on like burning the cross and stuff like that, and then like and then at the very end, like the cross was burning, the cross fell, and like he was gonna burn himself to like save the burning cross, and like it rains, and like Kanye West like explains that like that's supposed to mean that like everybody is forgiven, like Jesus walks with everyone, and like the like even looking at that now, like looking at that particular like tidbit and like looking at it like now to where like he does like the one of the latest controversy was the fact that like he had the baby and Marilyn Manson and his listening party, two of which are like, like pretty controversial people, but like it is from it's almost like Kanye West like kind of hasn't changed. Like now, like the stuff that he's getting hate for, like, oh, look at like how he's like has these people, how could he associate himself with them? And it's like, but he's been talking about forgiving like the worst of us, like from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess going back to College Dropout itself, you had mentioned earlier today, and we'll just reiterate this, is that like he spent what, 30 grand on the music video for Through the Wire,
which was his first single. So like he kind of already had like a skeleton of what the album was going to be about. But a lot of people didn't believe in him. And it wasn't until Through like The Wire happened, like, he got in that car crash where he almost died. And he rapped Through the Wire with his mouth wired shut. And like I looked at it. So it was around a year turnaround from when the car crash happened. Obviously, like 2 weeks later, he rapped with his mouth wired shut. And the song came out like around a year later. Because again, like he dropped like 30,000 because he believed that much in himself that like, again, like one of the things that he said, it's like that easily could have been the worst thing that ever happened to him. Like, and then he like milked it to be the best thing that ever happened to him. Because it kind of gave him the credibility, like to like fuel his album. And it's within the track listing of the album, it's like one of the last songs. And throughout the album, he references Through the Wire. It's almost like it's like the album is building to this grandiose point. And it is like Through the Wire is the first thing that like the audience, like we, the audience, like have seen from him. So it's kind of, it's kind of cool, like how he like structured the album and like the whole rollout of the thing.
So something that is interesting about this, and still kind of connecting it to the grind, is that something about this perspective is that Kanye's astronomical ego and profound emphasis on how much he really values the like public feedback and how much that really affects him is interesting, because even from the get-go, even before people like really knew his name, he was still kind of focusing on like, oh, if I use sort of this gimmick of me rapping with my jaw wired shut, like that'll draw attention. And then now that that has attention, I can put other references to it in the other tracks through the album. And so it's like that grind is sort of still applying itself to his artistic output, but also kind of commercial output. And something that I struggle with as an artist is that distinction of like, what am I making as an artist and what am I making as a public figure? To Kanye, it's all the same. The public perception is the art as well. And he's also utilizing that to promote the art, to shape the art, to, yeah, it's all interconnected. And so that, in a way, that grind mentality of like, yeah, like squeeze every drop out of every incident that happens is, I don't know, for me personally as an artist, is like, I struggle with that because I have morals that I stick to more than my ego.
Yeah, I guess you're looking at it as if like selling out, right?
Sort of, but in a weird way. Like, that's another question that I always ask on the podcast, and the consensus is kind of like there is no such thing as selling out, and if there was, the selling out is really just betraying your own values for financial gain.
Mm-hmm.
So like the only people who are losing are the ones who have values. So like the industry already operates off of payola. The industry already operates off of like public perception. It already operates off of all of these things that, like, you know, is it possible to be a successful artist in 2021 and still have morals?
We have to get specific on what you mean about morals, because like I kind of don't like, I think that Through the Wire, even though that it had a squeeze, a purpose, like as something that he like used as publicity, I think it was never, like in Kanye's mind, it was never selling out. It was like, this is proof of how bad I want it. This is proof of how much like soul I put into my art. Like it like, and it's like, look at how much like feeling and soul and like I'm putting into my art. And it's not about it. It was, I don't know, because it's like, who are you making your art for? Like, if you're just making it for yourself, write a diary. Like, you know, like if because art is for people, like it's for others, it's to connect with people. So like saying like, you're catering to your audience. Like, it's like, we're always trying to connect with an audience. We're always trying to like make something that like other people will resonate with. Like I think it, yeah. So you're gonna have to help me tease out like give me a clear example of what selling out is, because I don't know.
It is really important. And like, I've been blathering on about this thesis of mine about like the importance of internal narrative. And so it is interesting how when like we're describing the same thing in different terms, because I see the narrative as like, oh, he's using, like, he got in a car crash and is rapping with his jaw wired shut. It's a gimmick to get publicity. But the way that you just described it, the internal narrative is different in that, like, I'm dedicated to this. Look at how I'm willing to rap with my jaw wired shut. It still actually has the same goal, which is using this gimmick to get publicity. But the intention behind it is different, because on one hand, it's like, haha, now people will click on my thing, sort of in a, like, this is a calculated move and I'm playing with people's emotions. But instead, it's like, this is a calculated move because I'm proving that I'm dedicated to this. And that internal narrative is really important. And so it can really change the perception of an artist. And I imagine it's very challenging for him to kind of constantly be focused on what the public thinks of him because of these varying interpretations of everything that he does. And so, I mean, and this is sort of like kind of what happens throughout the rest of his career with Dark Twisted Fantasy. And like, he was trying things because he was being himself, and like maybe his internal narrative was doing something else, and then everyone else perceived his actions to be different. And he's like, wait, no, why are you falling away from me? I am doing the thing.
Yeah, it is like, didn't you want me to tell the truth? Like it's that's what I'm doing. Well, something that like comes to mind is like, I'm shifting things to another obsession of mine, which is Bo Burnham's Inside. So would that thing, Inside by Bo Burnham, mean anything different to you if he didn't really like film it all in there? Like, you know, if it wasn't like that physical aspect of the stunt, if it wasn't like him, if he wasn't really depressed, if he was just acting like he was depressed, like, you know,
that's the magic trick.
Is it selling out? Is it like, you know, is it, you know, like I said, because like Kanye West really did get in that accident, you know, but also like whether hypothetically let's say he didn't really get in the accident and it's all just like a publicity stunt to be, but even if it was all like makeup, right? Like hypothetically, if it was all makeup and it was all just a publicity stunt, because that way you could say like, oh, that is a lie, right? He still tell like the story. We're almost getting into like Jordan Peterson, like truth, like versus fact, I guess. It's still that story that he's telling, that fiction is still true. The fact that you can have so much willpower that like you can rap with your mouth shut and like write the song and like while you're in there, and just like Bo Burnham, whether or not he was actually in that room for a year, like the art, the package that he did, that's still art, that's still true, that's still real.
Yeah, again, and that's kind of why I refer to it as a magic trick, in that the prestige, if you will, is that there are magic tricks that they don't tell you at all what the trick is because it ruins it. And then there's other tricks that you know exactly how it works and they tell you exactly how it works, but you still can't believe it when you see it. And so in a way, like with both Bo Burnham's Inside and I guess Through the Wire, is that like it is real and they're showing it.
But it's also like, what if Bo Burnham like filmed and edited like Inside and then he died, right? Look, like, you know, like he kept doing his career and then like he never showed Inside, and then like once he dies we find the file and it's like Inside, right? Like, it's like, is it better because he didn't show it to us? Is it less of a sellout because he didn't show it?
I don't so much care about that. And I don't think that, again, I'm calling it a magic trick and I'm not even necessarily ascribing sellout terms on this, because we are in such a strange space here that like what we decide to show as artists is on purpose, right? Like there's nothing, the hooker with a penis, like I sold out long before you'd ever even heard my name. I sold my soul to make a record. And so everything that we're doing is so that people see it. In a weird way, this podcast is me doing it, not necessarily backwards, but like opposite in that, like, I'm not hiding anything. I'm not planning some sort of like mastermind prestige strategy here of like, ooh, look at me struggling for this art, because I'm literally just showing you like you could go back and listen to every single one of my podcasts and see what the hell it is that I'm doing. And I don't know what that means as far as selling out or not selling out. But it is something about like, yeah, it's what you decide to show that tells more about it. Kind of what you're saying about Bo Burnham's Inside. If he had just put the music out, would it have had the same impact? Definitely not. It requires the whole struggle in it. But the thing is that we still don't see all of it because it's still edited. And so when you decide to take a picture of your meal and post it on Instagram, that is like a conscious decision that you're making to show to other people. And in a small way, you're already selling out. You're like trying to show people the thing that you did. And so like, which is again, sort of the question of like, what is selling out? Everyone is selling out and no one is selling out. Like, what values are you betraying to make a thing? Or are you, specifically showing a side of yourself so that it can be looked at a certain way? We're, as creatives, we're all sellouts because we're putting ourselves out there and be like, could you pay me for it? Maybe. And so, yeah, like we're all pretending, or we're all trying to show something, and maybe we don't know what that means yet. Like social media is fairly new, and it used to be that like, public facing people would have to have like a publicist in order to like interact with the media. And now it doesn't matter. Like everyone's a public person now. Everyone can make a statement. And yeah, we don't know what those effects are. And in a weird way, going back to this grind idea, like a lot of us are pretending to grind. Like we're, sharing that like, oh, for example, myself, I've been saying like, I'm working on my singer-songwriter album. I haven't really worked on it in like months. I haven't recorded anything. I haven't opened up an Ableton session to tweak anything. I'm not working on my album. I haven't been working on my album in a while because, I've been busy. But like, I am kind of working on an album. Like it's not done yet. So like it's a work in progress, I guess. But like the grind is still there in a weird way. Like I still have I still have to find the spare time in my schedule to put that stuff in there to force myself to work on the thing. And that's still a part of the grind. But again, even me talking about it right now on the podcast is me like showing you behind the scenes being like, I'm intentionally showing you that I'm grinding and not grinding at the same time. Schrodinger's album.
Schrodinger's grinding. Schrodinger's performance. Like, I mean, it's a, yeah, I mean, I guess anytime that you, I don't know. I mean, because now I'm thinking about like, is the act of performing, is the act of changing what you're saying, doing to accommodate like others. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about like selling out for so long that like to me at least it doesn't have a meaning anymore. Like, I mean, I don't like do you have a clear example of somebody that sold out, or like something that comes to mind is like when Korn did Shake That Laffy Taffy. Look, when Korn had that split thing with who was it? I can't even remember.
I believe D12 would have been Shake That Laffy Taffy, but like, I don't know. But even to that extent, it's just like, and maybe it's also from my perspective of like being somewhat in the industry, is that like, again, people are going to perceive things differently than what actually happened. And it could be that like, yeah, they like got in a room and were like, ooh, let's mash these songs up so that it like, so that the kids can enjoy it and we can like get a lot of sales from it. Or what if they were hanging out and were like, you know, it would be cool if we put these songs together. That would be fun. And like a creative experiment.
Yeah, it's like those are the two wild, like, you know, furthest things from each other. What if we put them together? Like that's like, so that's also like why, or like, I don't know, people like crapping on like pop artists, or like, you know, like Dua Lipa's like album, like Future Nostalgia is like a great album.
It's a really fucking good album. Yeah.
So like, because it's pop doesn't make it any less art, or like did Dua Lipa sell out like making that album? It's like not in the least, you know. So
something I've been saying lately is you're allowed to be a hypocrite if you point it out. And so I think that pop music, and I think the best example is K-pop, which is like, it's this machine system. They're like taking teenagers, auditioning them, and like training them to dance and sing. And they're getting this team of producers to make like the like filtered through a lab, just the purest form of pop music. And K-pop is great. Every song is a banger. It's amazing because it is this like well-oiled machine that is making this amazing product. And of course it is making so much money for these record companies because like, yeah, they did it. They figured it out scientifically. They're pumping out the poppiest pop that you can pop. And so like, they're not being dishonest about it. Like everyone knows that this is a machine and the public is okay with that.
Yeah. But again, that's also something that like, why Kanye West threw the wire, like to me, there's no way it could be selling out, because like when it was, and obviously like, I mean, he's always had it, but like it was pure belief in himself. It was pure like motivation juice. Like, I mean, like it is like, I don't know what you listen, like what kind of music you listen to that like gets you pumped up and gets you to like believe in yourself and like, heck yeah, I can like run through a brick wall, like type music. Like, but like that is what like the intent. I think that's the intent of Through the Wire. And there is like, yeah, I don't know.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if I said that like, oh, Kanye is a sellout, but it's more like I was talking about like the grind as far as like utilizing situations and squeezing stuff out of them. Right.
You have to scheme.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think Kanye has ever sold out. He's never been a sellout because he really believes this shit to an unhealthy extent, actually. And so what some might see as like trying to get publicity is him. It's not necessarily a game, although it is. It's that like he is trying to play with the public, and Kanye doesn't exist without people's public perception of him. And every artist doesn't exist without the public's perception of them, regardless of how much they feed into it or not. And so, yeah, there's definitely artists that like don't like doing interviews, don't like talking to the press, and they just want to make their art. And that in itself is a sort of public statement that you're trying to play with what the public perception is, which is we don't talk to the press. We're just trying to make art.
But either like, there's almost no, I mean, there are these actors that like never watch their movies. So it is an interesting, like, you know, thing, I guess, like that it's like it's the performance that is their art, and it's not like the final product.
Yeah, I actually used to dislike Harrison Ford because he's a curmudgeon. He's extremely curmudgeonly in every interview that he's in. And I was like, man, what an asshole. Just like, you know, be cool. But at one point I saw a thing where I don't know what it was, but basically he was like, I'm an actor and I wish people would stop asking me about these things that, you know, oh, did Han shoot first or whatever? He's like, I don't care. I'm an actor and I'm trying to do good acting. And I was like, oh, yeah. he's an actor and he's not here for all of like the fame and nerdy shit. He's just trying to do his job really well because he really likes it.
It's like the script called for this. I don't know what they did with the edit.
Yeah. You know, there's that funny sketch of Ian McKellen of like, oh, wow, Ian McKellen, you're such a great actor. Like, how do you get into character to be Gandalf? He's like, well, I'm not actually Gandalf, but when Peter Jackson says action, I pretend that I'm this wizard. And so like, yeah, he's just doing his job. But like the weird thing is that there is a degree of separation between actors who are on set acting and then they leave and then a product is made kind of around them, but not necessarily with their input. Whereas musicians specifically, a big part of what we do requires the public performance of it because it's very important to how people consume the art that they witness it live. And so actors don't necessarily have to deal with that, but musicians do. And so there's part of the art that just exists in the studio. And yeah, here's a recording that we made and it's modified and it's the best version of this song that you could possibly hear. And then we're going to take this art thing and make a live version of it so that you can consume it in person. And so it still kind of requires the public perception. Like if you go to a show and the band is like not interacting at all, you don't feel their energy change whenever the audience gets excited, that's kind of a bad show. And in a weird way, it's like the spectrum that is on-screen camera actors to musicians to comedians. Like comedians, there is no comedy without the audience. It requires the laughter. If you can't just do comedy and be like, whoop, I did good jokes and I'm done. It's like, no, if the audience didn't laugh, you did comedy bad.
There's the special from Gerard Carmichael. Have you heard of him?
Mm-mm.
Which actually Bo Burnham directed his special, and it was like there was no audience. It was this very artsy thing where like a lot of the times it was just him in like an empty room, and there were like close-ups and stuff like that, and like it was serious and funny. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that Bo Burnham specifically, I mean, kind of from the beginning, has been trying to challenge in every way possible. That was Art is Dead on his first or second special?
I can't remember, but yeah, like I mean, he's definitely like a child of the internet. That like since like he got famous on the internet as a child, like I like as a 15-year-old, like he blew up, like on YouTube. So yeah, like if he would have been like a stand-up, like he would have seen it, like seen the spark, right? But yeah, like as in like blowing up on the internet when you're 15, it's like, oh wow, like 5 million people just watched the video that I sent my brother. So like it's quite a different like the parasocial relationship starts different for him than for like a stand-up artist.
Yeah, and kind of going back to the grind, and this is something that we should talk about, is that like luck is incredibly important to the circumstances or lack of circumstances. And that is, there's thousands of artists that are making the greatest, coolest, most mind-blowing music that you will never hear because it somehow is not making its way to you.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess to some extent you hope that the algorithms that we're building will show you like weird stuff. But like, yeah, something that like, again, like just that I heard the other day. Have you ever heard of Earl Sweatshirt?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So apparently I just heard that like he dropped a collab album with somebody else, which I can't remember. And he dropped it on YouTube under like another name. And like the other artist was like, yeah, we actually did. Because somebody asked him like, when's that collab coming with like Earl Sweatshirt? And he's like, we actually did it and we put it out on YouTube. And like, we just haven't heard anything about it. So, go find it.
Yeah. And that kind of says something about, and this is a hard reality that I've slowly been coming to terms with over time, is that like people think that like, oh, the good stuff will find its way
rise to the top.
That is not true at all. Especially in today's day and age, like it doesn't matter how fucking amazing your stuff is. Like at some point, money gets involved to make it happen. And so, yeah, maybe like the good stuff will rise to the top because some rich person hears it and is like, oh my God, I have to share this with the world. How do I get in touch with this person so that I can help them, be seen more? And yeah, that's the luck component.
I think there's like collaboration is super important. Like it is like, however, like gross it feels like it is a little bit of a climbing social ladders to where like, I mean, yeah, like Kanye without ever being like signed to Rockefeller, like he would have just kept making beats in the background, like, so I think a lot of the times, like you almost have to collaborate with like people to kind of like get the like stamp of approval from others. Cause like anybody could just, because of the internet, it's almost like a public diary that like nobody has to like, read your public diary, but you can, you know, just keep putting it out there. But unless you kind of like show it to people that want to show it to people, like, you know, like you're never going to get there.
That's a funny thing. And I have one thought, which is just like, this podcast is like a public diary. Only like, you know, however many people listen to it, and thank you for continuing to listen to it, I guess. But like, it is just kind of here. And as we talked about earlier today, there's lots of things that I could do to market my podcast better. And I know what those things are. It's just, back to the grind. Like, having the time to be able to put in the work to make that happen. But something else, I noticed that you said that like, oh, like collabs, even though they might be kind of gross. Why are collabs kind of gross?
I think like chasing the social clout, like chasing like because there is that stigma of like always trying to like, oh, whoa, that person is like, you know, like just like people that have more clout than others, and like people run toward them like for opportunity, like, you know. Yeah, I mean that
it's a real thing though, because the music industry, along with pretty much any other industry, probably, I can't speak for many other industries because I'm not in them, but like the music industry, at least specifically, is very much network based. You're not going to get a job in something music related if you don't know someone already. And so that's kind of the other thing of like, again, you could be making the greatest, most mind-blowing thing, but if no one around you likes it, or if no one around you knows someone who knows someone who knows someone, then it's not going to get to the right places. And so, I mean, yeah, like clout is a real thing. And in a weird way, it's also not a real thing. Kind of, again, going back to that, like Jordan Peterson fact versus truth thing, is that like, it doesn't matter if people, or yeah, it doesn't matter if someone is really famous or is really a good musician or is really whatever. If people think that you are, then you are. And so the rest comes down to like how much further you can take that, because yeah, you can only go so far with a lie. And so at some point people will find out that like, oh, I don't know, it hasn't knocked down Donald Trump completely yet, so we'll see how that plays out. But like the weird thing is that like, yeah, people's perception of who and what you are is as important as the thing itself. And we've learned this lesson from, you know, the past 30 years of like political propaganda that has shaped the way that we perceive reality in America itself. But more specifically in this case, yeah, it's part of the grind to like collaborate with artists that are big or that seem to be big in your industry. And this is something that like, I guess it's a little bit weird for me to be saying it on the record, but like there have been people on my podcast that I perceive to be unreachable, like clout wise or whatever. And after having talked to them, it's like, oh, they're really cool people, regardless of like where or what they are. And so like, yeah, I've had both the manager of the Flaming Lips and like two people who play in the Flaming Lips on this podcast. And that sounds much cooler than what it necessarily is, which is just, I had some really nice conversations with like really nice people. Because in the end, they're just people that happen to be involved in things. And I think this is something else that needs to be acknowledged about people's perceptions of like what fame is because the example that you had brought up earlier of like, oh, Korn doing this like mashup with whatever, like sometimes it is just friends hanging out and they make a thing. And just because those friends happen to be really famous, it's just like more people are in on it. But like Seth Rogen makes movies with his friends because it's fun for him. It just so happens that lots of people are involved in the process and lots of people see the end result, but it's still just Seth Rogen making movies with his friends. And that's pretty cool in itself, but it's also really nice for him because he also gets to make some money off of it. and that's again, tying this theme back. That's the beautiful synergy that everyone is hoping for with the grind.
Yeah, but it's also like with the grind, you do kind of have to find a way to not make it a hobby, I think. I don't think that the grind applies to hobbies.
No, because hobbies are for the self.
Yeah.
And like, and yeah, it's a weird thing that like, oh, I'm trying to be a musician or I'm trying to be a video producer or whatever, so that like I reach some sort of like success, and like success probably requires other people's approval so that I can justify this success for myself. Whereas, you know, like I've been enjoying skating. I like landed some shitty ollies in the grass today.
Have you grinded yet?
Nah. I've not ground to the grind yet. There's a better joke in there, but I'm not finding it. But I guess taking this back to College Dropout, do you think that, I guess, to what extent was Kanye's grind mentality responsible for his success? And then to what extent was it the everything else?
I mean, I think that the like you said, like it's always luck, like, or luck is always a component, but it's luck is something that you can never count on. You can never like just like wish that like, you know, like that the one manager like comes to you and says, wow, I really like your stuff. Like you do have to believe yourself in almost a delusional way, like, you know, so you can get there, like, because like it's not written in stone that Kanye would have gotten famous. Like he put in the effort, and sure, he got lucky along the way, but like he put in the effort, and like you do have to believe in yourself. And just like in anything, like if you're applying for a job, you have to kind of believe in yourself, or else it won't, like, you know, you won't present well in the interview. And or like if you aren't going a little bit punching a little bit above your weight or comfort, like you're just gonna get like crappy jobs all the time that like don't fill you.
Yeah, and that's the other sort of, I don't know, hard part about the loop, the status quo loop, if you will. And that is that like if you are just staying in a shitty job because it's stable and you don't like the job, but it's stable, like at what point do you need to be grinding to get above that? And that's also not to say that everyone has to
do a grind.
Yeah, that I don't know. At one point I had the realization that like some people are just NPCs and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a weird thing for me, especially that like this podcast is all about like getting to know people on a deeper level. Like, oh, there's something more there, but something also that should be acceptable is like some people just aren't deep.
Yeah.
And they're completely all right with their all right job and it works and they're alive and they're just going to keep doing that. And cool.
Yeah, I wonder, like, because I would be willing to bet that, like, there's probably some string of depth, like, in there, but it's not like, it's not like the like, is it religion? It's like, no. Is it spirituality? No. Is it like, are you passionate about music? No. Or movies? No. Like, there's probably somewhere in there to where, like,
it's Warhammer miniatures.
Yeah. So then, so it could be like, yeah, you ask somebody about Warhammer, like, and there's no way, like, I'm never ever gonna ask somebody about Warhammer miniatures, like, like that. I'm never gonna stumble upon that, like diamond treasure trove that some people are carrying within them. Like, I'm never gonna find that out about somebody that has that jewel.
Yeah, but like, more so, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be deep. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to be any of these things that, like, our Western society values quite a bit. It's totally cool to, like, be all right with an all right thing and just, like, survive until you die. And it's like, cool. I didn't do any atrocities my entire life. And, like, that's a decent life.
I think also, if there are, like, NPCs without any kind of, like, depth, if they're happy with their life, that is, like, extraordinary. Like,
Yeah, I think maybe that's something else too. And because of the time, we can, like, acknowledge this part, but, like, there's two ways off of the grind bus. If it's a bus, I don't know. One is to, like, achieve your goal, like, get to the destination and, like, yeah, I did it, which, like, in many cases it's an illusion that you think that there's an end goal and it's like you get there, but it's like, no, but there's this other thing that I want to achieve, and, like, you never actually really stop grinding. And then there's the other part of it, which is just like, nah, I'm gonna just get off the bus. I don't have to grind anymore. And I'm just cool where this is. And yeah, that's, I'm remembering this thing that, like, Chris Ryan quotes this study of, like, they had different types of, or they had models in a study, and women were sort of rating their attractiveness, and the same model was wearing, like, expensive suits and then just, like, casual normal clothes, and they rated the guys in the expensive suits to be more attractive than, like, the whatever guy. But then they did another one where it's the guy with the expensive suit and a guy that looks like he doesn't give a fuck about anything. And the guy who doesn't give a fuck was more attractive than the guy in the expensive suit. And so it's like, if you have a choice between someone who is losing the game and winning the game, probably going to go with the person who's winning the game. But if you have the choice between someone who's winning the game and someone who's not even playing the game, it's the person who's not playing the game that's more interesting, that's more attractive, because, like, we're all playing this game and it's like, man, look at that guy. Like, he has the courage to not be playing the game. And that's really cool. So I don't know if this whole thing leads to, like, don't play the game or do play the game or finding different ways of playing the game, but, like, it's a grind. Any further thoughts on that?
Yeah, we need UBI so more people don't have to play the game.
Yeah, that's a whole
other thing. Yes,
separate thing, which in an undisclosed amount of time, mostly because we don't know when it would be. Though that is a conversation that we will have on our podcast eventually, yes, when it starts being a thing, which is just going to be a way of which we make other content so that it can be shareable. But like, it's going to be more interesting conversations like this. Do you feel comfortable making some sort of announcement about it? Because I just kind of did.
Well, we've been, I mean, I feel like almost like I've been kind of like Kanye, like, you know, announcing albums and not dropping them. But yeah, so far the name of our podcast is going to be Yandi. Just kidding. Muditious. But yeah, we're thinking about doing like a joint podcast that are more like topic based. And
the topic is weed because it's a joint podcast.
Jokes.
But no, yeah, we'll pick topics and be really nerdy about them. And then we'll try and like prop each other's points up or like tear them down so that we can get better at having ideas for, I guess, ideas' sake. I mean, I'm not changing the world with the things that I'm doing yet. So like, you know, it's just for ideas' sake.
Yeah. This was a good conversation.
Jesus, thank you so much for doing this with me. Where can we find you and your things?
At Muditious in most things. I think if you look for that, you can find me.
Yeah. Muditious. You'll find it, or you can look in the show notes because I will probably have a link there. Well, yeah, once again, thank you for doing this with me. I'm Santiago Ramones, and you are
Jesus Ramones.
You can find everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music and produce audio. I have an EP, a short album, that is streaming everywhere right now. It's called Soundbites. The music you're hearing right now is from Soundbites. Listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere else you stream music, or buy it on Bandcamp, because a single purchase is the monetary equivalent of streaming it all day, every day, for a year. I'm also working on another album, so if you'd like to hear that at some point, you can buy my music, or you can support me on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Santiago Ramones. Follow me on Instagram to stay up to date with all the stuff that I'm doing, both at bit.depth and at Santiago Ramones Music. There's also a Discord server in which we discuss deep topics from the podcast, but it's also a community of beautiful human beings. Go to santiagoramones.com/Discord to join. If you like the podcast, leave comments on social media, leave reviews by saying how much you like the podcast, and tell your friends about it. I really couldn't be doing this without you, and I'm so very grateful to continue doing Bit Depth for this long. Thank you so much for listening to and supporting Bit Depth. I always end the podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Love never fails. It's going to be okay. I might be wrong.